As far as I'm concerned, Dawn is the best book the New Prophecy has to offer. This is of course my own biased opinion, and you are free to disagree, but I do have reason to say so. The characters here all feel distinct and sympathetic to some degree, the relationships between cats feel real and intimate, and a lot of interesting drama, danger, and plot progression takes place rather quickly, without the dragging filler that populates so much of the rest of the arc. Even the tribe manages to be not as bad, for the very short couple chapters where we see them. It still has its flaws, and perhaps being different from the other books in its arc is itself a flaw, but it is still a great read. Honestly, even if you ignore the rest of the New Prophecy, I would recommend reading this book. Dawn was released on December 27th of 2005, about 5 months after Moonrise came out. This one was written by Kate Carey, something that is more evident when you look at the quantity of dialogue as well as the slight shifting of relationships. From reading Moonrise and Dawn back to back, we can get the sense that Kate and Cherith have different views on certain characters' dynamics with each other, and some of these differences are outright confirmed by author statements outside the books. Most notably are Leafpaw and Mothwing having far less easy chemistry than before, Brambleclaw and Stormfur not expressing their affections for Squirrelpaw nearly as much, Mothwing and Hawkfrost seeming to be on better terms, and Hawkfrost being slightly less aggressive, and of course Squirrelpaw and Leafpaw no longer having their psychic connection power. This is something that's difficult to tell from just a summary, so I figured I would note it here ahead of time. But now let's get into the specifics of what this book does do, starting with the allegiance changes. The only difference from Moonrise and ThunderClan is Dappletail being dead, leaving 3 elders instead of 4. In the other clans, a few warriors became queens, and a few more cats were pulled from the ether to become warriors or even elders. Otherwise, no major changes. The tragedy pertinent for the clans right now is cats being kidnapped, not killed. Over on the statistics side, we are continuing New Prophecy's trend of a slightly lower top 10 percentage. In Dawn, the top 10 characters have 72% of the lines, more than in the last book certainly, but still much less than one would get used to in the first arc. In addition, since Squirrelpaw and Leafpaw each take a lion's share of those lines, with Cinderpelt, Cody, Sorreltail, and Tawnypelt also in the mix, the she-cats came out really well this time. It's still true that 46% of the characters are she-cats, but in this book they have 55% of the lines, making this the first book in the series where the she-cats combined have more lines than the toms. And with that, it's time to dive into the plot. It begins with a prologue where Firestar, Sandstorm, Greystripe, and Dustpelt all discuss the recent disappearances, lumping Brambleclaw and Squirrelpaw along in with them, and the deaths as well, Dappletail and Dustpelt's kit Larchkit. They are planning to propose facing the two-leg threat together to the other clans at the gathering, but before they can arrive, they see the monsters tearing down the great oaks at Four Trees. Our traveling group then approaches the outskirts of WingClan territory, reminiscing about Feathertail and Midnight before they begin to split up and go to their own clans. Crowpaw is left in WingClan first after Webfoot and Owlpaw let them know that Four Trees has been torn down. Tawnypelt leaves next, promising, as they all did, to meet near Four Trees the next morning, hopefully with their leaders, to see the sign of the dying warrior. Stormfur returns with Brambleclaw and Squirrelpaw to camp so he can tell Greystripe about Feathertail. We then cut to Leafpaw trapped in a two-leg cage along with a kitty pet named Cody, who knows Smudge and Princess and who helps Leafpaw learn more about their predicament. Leafpaw soon comes across the other trapped clan cats along with a handful of rogues. As it turns out, ThunderClan is no longer living in their camp, something they are able to find out from Cinderpelt, who brings them to Sunning Rocks, where they are hiding out. The clan is upset with them at first, seeing how well-fed they were on the journey. Greystripe also gets mad at Stormfur for letting Feathertail die. But when they are able to explain themselves, Firestar and the clan understand. The cage cats are then joined by Sasha, who is trying to find her kits, Mothwing and Hawkfrost. All the cats start trying to think of ways to escape, but at least for the moment are unsuccessful. The next night at Four Trees, the traveling cats, leaders, medicine cats, and also Mothwing and Hawkfrost meet. The traveling cats admit they all had poor receptions upon returning, with their clanmates, even former friends, treating them like strangers. We find out that Hawkfrost has been made RiverClan's deputy in Mistyfoot's absence, Blackstar and Tallstar want to leave the forest immediately, and Leopardstar is convinced that her clan isn't in any danger. No sign appeared to them, so the clans break up. Squirrelpaw gets a dream where Spotted Leaf leads her to Leafpaw in the cage, something she wasn't able to figure out herself because, I suppose, Kate did not know about or remember the psychic sisterly connection they are supposed to have. Brambleclaw won't come with Squirrelpaw to save Leafpaw, but Sorreltail does. They do find her, being put into a monster's belly, but are unable to save her and have to flee. With Greystripe, Thornclaw, Brambleclaw, and Rainwhisker behind them, they return and launch a mass rescue mission, saving all the trapped cats but getting Greystripe captured and taken away in their place. With heavy hearts, they return to Firestar and tell him that his best friend is gone. He is happy that the rest of the cats escaped, but is clearly devastated to hear about Greystripe. Still, he maintains the belief that his deputy will return, and does not appoint a new deputy. And the mourning doesn't stop there, because before another moment passes, a second of Dustpelled and Fernclad's kits, Hollykit, is pronounced dead too, leaving Birchkit as their only surviving kit. Cody decides to stay and help, as she has some experience losing kits. Sasha is invited into RiverClan, much to Firestar's worry, and allowed by Hawkfrost to stay as long as she likes. Shrewpaw was killed trying to chase a pheasant, the best prey the clan has seen in a moon, and Thornclaw and Whitepaw are heartbroken. Squirrelpaw remembers that the RiverClan warriors she saw were wading through rather than swimming through the river, and realizes that the river must be dangerously low. RiverClan isn't actually doing as perfectly as Leopardstar would have them believe. After Squirrelpaw privately expresses her distrust of Hawkfrost, based not on his parentage but on his behavior, Mothwing comes to Leafpaw and asks for help, because Mudfur is very sick. Cinderpelt comes too, but they are unable to help, and tell Mothwing to expect becoming the only medicine cat soon. The clans join together to help ShadowClan, whose camp is being destroyed by monsters. Firestar loses life, and several cats suffered injuries or close calls, but in the end, everyone came out alright. Cody finally leaves, after seeing how much every cat suffered from the battle and how desperate their lives were. She and Leafpaw say thanks and goodbye to each other, and soon the clans decide to leave together. Mudfur is dying, and a few elders decide to stay behind to help him pass on peacefully, something that quickly proves unnecessary when he dies before them. The elders still decide to stay, to mourn him and live out the remainders of their lives, and just as they are leaving, Sasha appears to ask that Hawkfrost and Mothwing stay with her. However, both of them refuse, and soon enough the clans set out and leave the forest for the last time. They spend the night with Ravenpaw and Barley, and give him news of Greystripe so he can send his friend on after them if he ever sees Greystripe again. And just as they are leaving, they see a shooting star pointing them towards the mountains, the dying warrior showing them the way to go. With the traveler group leading them, the clans join together through an expedient version of the first journey into the mountains. Along the way, Smokepaw falls off a cliff and dies, and Brackenfur saves Marshkit. When they arrive at the tribe, Stoneteller welcomes them in. Leafpaw receives a dream from Spotted Leaf telling her that StarClan is still with them. Crowpaw becomes a warrior and chooses the name Crowfeather in memory of Feathertail, and Stormfur decides to stay with the tribe, and Brook. With Silverstream, Feathertail, and Greystripe gone, he has no kin back in the clans, and never felt close to RiverClan. He would rather stay in the mountains with the cat he has come to love and the spirit of his sister. The clans set off again, unsure of their destination, and rather quickly stumble upon the lake, where Leafpaw feels they are home. Aside from the first few chapters, this book has far less whiplash than Moonrise did, since both point-of-view characters are in the same environment, working on roughly the same problems. Rather than switching back and forth between two completely different stories, we see two facets of the same story, bringing in different relevant characters in each point of view. This ends up feeling like a far more seamless experience, and is one of the reasons that this book is so much easier to read. Speaking of those main characters, though, Squirrelpaw finally gets to have a point of view in this book, along with Leafpaw again. Being able to see her thoughts and opinions makes it all the more clear just how clever, compassionate, and driven she is, all without being taken seriously, particularly by the two Toms who claim to love her. She is the one to take many of the big steps and put together the most important clues in this book, and yet, aside from Leafpaw and sometimes Shrewpaw before he dies, every cat treats her like a silly little child, and some of them treat her like a silly little child that they are also in love with. Actually, all of the traveling cats in this book are given great characterization and chemistry with each other. I'm sure when people look fondly back on the New Prophecy cast, it's these personalities and relationships that they remember. Tawnypelt is stern and sure of herself, but insightful as well. Crowpaw is loyal but grumpy and hides a fair bit of his pain. Brambleclaw is harsh, but also caring of the cats he came to know and protect. And Squirrelpaw is, as I mentioned, witty and brave. They are all friends who care for each other and for Feathertail, their friend that passed, and they come to each other's aid even when they disagree, and are easily the emotional core that lets us see the unity even when the clans are breaking apart, from each other and from the group themselves. The only real issue is with what came before. These cats are friends now, and great ones, but we don't know how they got there. They didn't earn this intimacy. They just woke up in this book and boom, they're friends! Additionally, the characterizations they were given in this book aren't exactly consistent across all of their stories, which is true for some more than others. Leopardstar points out when trying to discredit the traveling cat's message that they are all from ThunderClan. Well, this isn't true in Crowpaw's case, but for every other cat on the journey, she has a fair point. The group could have and would have been much more impactful if all the cats were truly bred to believe in their clan alone, and didn't already have connections outside, like Crowpaw. Then, when they came back united, it would show how any cat could choose to stand together. Sasha shows herself to be a stubborn, sharp-tongued, independent, and fiercely loving she-cat. She cares for her kits and wants a good life for them, free from the image of their father, but also won't hesitate to stand up to other cats in the cages or even clan leaders across the border who question her life or motives. Brambleclaw finally discovers what Hawkfrost has known all along, that they are half-brothers through Tigerstar. He immediately and vehemently declares that it changes nothing, that he holds no loyalty towards his new relative, and in fact that they are nothing alike. Squirrelpaw agrees instantly that of course they aren't, and that he will always be seen as a brave and loyal warrior because of his deeds. This appears to be true as well, since after Graystripe's disappearance, many cats already expect and want him to be deputy, and there isn't a single cat who seems to think badly of him because of his father, or lumps him in with Hawkfrost. Hawkfrost, meanwhile, is doing his best to simultaneously take as much power and order as many cats around as he can, while still staying in the clan's good graces by, for instance, giving Mistyfoot her position when she comes back. However, he also shows on occasion his overt aggressiveness and tendency to go too far, which has both Squirrelpaw and Leafpaw being suspicious of his intentions in future. This book has a much better version of the tribe than the last, due in large part to the fact that they are so small a part in it. But while they are here, we see the repeated danger the mountains pose to the clans, so it isn't just the tribe who looks weak. Moreover, the tribe is actually the strong body of cats who have to take in the weak and starving clans, and give permission for a clan warrior ceremony to be performed. Even Stoneteller is being mostly respectful and even sharing some of his own herb knowledge with Leafpaw. They still have the issue of being too similar to the clans in the first place, but otherwise, this book's tribe is okay. There's a running theme in this book of everyone beginning to doubt StarClan due to the lack of messages and intervention to stop the horrible circumstances they are going through. Not even our main characters are immune, with everyone from Brambleclaw to Tawnypelt to Leafpaw and Squirrelpaw giving up at one time or another. The only cats who always keep faith are Stormfur, who does it somewhat to spite Crowpaw and believe that his sister died for a reason, and Firestar, who has always had a seemingly endless supply of faith in StarClan, and who partially just wants to believe that his two daughters and then Graystripe are okay and will return to him. This combined with the consistent danger and significant losses the clans suffer, not just in their homes, but in numerous cats being lost or killed, makes the experience of reading this book tense and dreary. But the levity returns when you see the way the cats bring each other back up with their love and loyalty for each other. Dawn is a really well-done book, and I honestly wish we could retroactively use it as the blueprint for the rest of the New Prophecy, based on its treatment of the main cast, the pacing, the danger levels, and even the tribe. It doesn't have precisely the same energy or interpretations of the characters and their relationships as the previous two books did, but when what we have here is so much better than what came before, I really can't find it in my heart to hold the changes against it. I love Dawn, but it is definitely the high point of the New Prophecy. The pre-planned story for the arc that was originally meant to be 3 books long is now done, and there are still 3 books to go, so we'll see how the clans like their new home and how the plot can progress from here in the next book of our trip through time.